Greetings, sailors, and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, which, as one of my patrons pointed out to me, has had an update not too long ago, which adds, I think, pretty much as a gimmick. I don't think this is ever going to be in the actual campaign mode, but yeah, it has the ability to have a fight between the Monitor and the Virginia, and you actually get to play from both sides. Now, I've already had one successful game as the Monitor and one unsuccessful one as the Virginia, but we'll give them both a go just so you can get a flavour of it. I mean, like I say, it does feel pretty gimmicky, but at the same time it's kind of nice from a historical point of view, shall we say. So one of the things that have also improved is the auto designer. Apparently that is now much more intelligent, and they've also fixed the little exploit where you could put the range down to the least amount to get yourself more space savings, more funds. So yeah, you've got the choice of basically guns. There's not really any different hull forms here, but there's 12-inch guns I think are the biggest. You've got, actually let's just do a clean slate and build one from scratch. You can have it be up to 1,600 tons. Speed wise, as you might imagine, they're not very fast. I think the maximum is 10.5 knots. We don't need that though. It starts you off very close to the enemy ship indeed. So techs are all fairly basic, understandably. There are a couple of different things available. We're going to go with Lyddite for the extra HE chance. Standard amount of ammo. Let's try heavy shells. Basic turrets. Standard reloading we'll leave. And let's actually build all the various things. So you've got your fore and aft kind of observation towers, as it were, which are extremely low down and armoured. I mean, the whole thing doesn't exactly have a lot of freeboard. It's also, interestingly, the big funnels have less funnel capacity than the standard funnels, but they have a smaller target signature. But given how close range you're going to be fighting at, I think we'll just have two of the standard ones because they're cheaper, if nothing else. And lastly, we come on to guns. Now we have the option of 9, 10, 11 or 12 inch. I don't think they have any noticeable differences in terms of in fact, if I'm looking at this right, it's giving the same pen, muzzle velocity, rate of fire for all of them. That might be a bug. Oh, that's just when you're looking at... Okay, it does differ a bit here. I guess we'll go with... we'll say 11-inch guns. We want a reasonable rate of fire. That's going to be... Actually, the doubles are always 90 seconds, so there isn't any advantage to smaller guns. So we might as well go with the twin barrel. Can we get away with that? No. No, that's rather too much, apparently. So what we can do is move that rather further back. Yeah, the UI is still a bit sticky, as it were. Well, that's still quite a lot of 4-weight offset for some reason. The tunnels don't weigh enough. Tunnels? Funnels, you know what I mean. Well, you can put it pretty much at the back of the ship. So, yeah, let's try this out. See how we do. We're only going to get one of these. We can increase our belt armor. We've got the budget for that. Maybe the turret armor as well, because they're basically the main exposed things. We're firing at very close range and we only have one turret, so if that gets knocked out, well, that's the maximum we can have apparently. Let's increase the conning tower a bit. Okay, that's about as much as we can have. That's fine. We don't really need to increase the deck armor. We're fighting at such close range that Yeah. Right, let's give this a go. I'm only going to get one of these, but even if I had two, it would then give me two enemies. This isn't one of those scenarios that has a fixed number of enemies. So we immediately start off very close by, and I'm actually going to immediately switch to HE to start with. I'm also going to yeah, we're going to do that because otherwise it's going to be the world's slowest battle. So the Virginia type ironclad gets to have less big guns. It can have at a maximum of fore and aft casemate 9-inch guns, and then all of these are secondaries, which can be up to 8-inch. And as you can see, it's got up to 8 inches of armour itself, so we're basically going to be somewhat relying on fires rather than actual penetration. If this goes correctly, the first time I did this, I did it with a ship with 2 turrets, and I think they were smaller caliber. I don't know, 2 turrets might actually be better, just in terms of even 2 twin turrets, because you're doubling your firepower. Have we actually done any damage yet? I don't know. It's a bit slow and a bit derpy. And the reason why I say there's no way this is going to be in any eventual campaign is because you would then need to have wooden ships added as well as a thing if you were starting a naval campaign that early, which the game in no way, shape or form supports otherwise. I'd be surprised if it goes back that far, to be honest. I would be surprised if this is anything other than just a gimmick. Right, so far we're burning, but we're not doing a lot to them exactly. In fact, we've done no damage whatsoever. Right, we've got 16% hit chance, so it's not great. And they are overall a little bit faster than I am. We could always try switching to AP, you know. Give that a go. It's not the fastest firing ship in the world, but basically it can only hit me with secondaries at the moment. It does look a bit like a duck-billed platypus or something, doesn't it? To my eyes, anyway. Right, we've really slowed down because it's, I don't know, doing the collision avoidance thing, I guess. I don't think the secondaries can pen my belt or my turret. So yeah, they're just having no effect whatsoever. Well, this is definitely an eggs all in one basket design with only having the single turret. Yeah, so far it's just been burning damage, really. We've done a little bit of burning damage to them. Oh yeah, that's set fire. And battle deck extended 15 damage. That wasn't a lot. That really wasn't a lot. We did get one hit for 223 though. If you haven't watched previous videos that I've covered this on, which has, to be fair, only been a couple and a stream or two, as you might surmise, this game does in fact use hit points, but it has things broken down a lot more in terms of internal modules of the ships. And oh, there we go, we've got a pen. So you can get things like, as I'm sure you'll have seen previously if you watched these, penetrations can cause flooding, which is something they experimented with really early on in World of Warships and then decided against. So I think overall this is the easiest ship to win this fight with. I mean, having caused that flood in the aft compartment, we've caused them a bit of a list, and we've also damaged their rudder. They've slowed down a fair bit as well. I don't know if that's the result of the flooding. We haven't actually damaged their engine or anything like that. But yeah, we're definitely doing more to them than they are to us, which is going to make playing this, you know, an interesting challenge. You're seeing exactly right now why it is an interesting challenge. I don't know how accurate this is to, you know, the actual fight, which I should have looked up the details of between Monitor and Virginia. But yeah, I have a memory of it being kind of one by one, but not decisively. I don't remember one sinking the other. I think, didn't one of them withdraw? I can't remember. Everyone in the comments can tell me how much of a noob I am, and of course it went this way. And yeah, I really should have just looked it up beforehand. Interestingly, they were able to completely pump out that aft section, but they're now flooding at the bow again. The pump doesn't seem to work nearly this well on some of the later designs you get, but yeah, so far in terms of damage we are winning this. And that turret really gives a huge amount of flexibility compared to the inability of this thing to get its smaller main guns on target. Yeah, that's listing quite heavily now. The listing doesn't seem to affect its ability, or you know, the ability of your ships or enemy ships to actually get their guns to the correct elevation to fire for some reason. I've seen scenarios where the ships are heeled over a lot more than this and still able to fire their guns at enemies that are below their gun horizon at that point. So that's slightly silly. They apparently reworked the ballistics a fair bit for this as well. They were using a more simplified model before in terms of getting the game to run a bit better, or at least according to the patch notes. But they've managed to get a better optimised, more complex model going. So fewer ghost shells and better accuracy in terms of ballistics and that kind of thing. So, not that I can say I've noticed a difference, but it is apparently there. I wish I could make this go a bit faster actually. We're winning this, it's slow but sure. Maybe adjust our own course a little bit. And we can even drop speed a little. I wonder if it's worth firing some HE at this point. Right, that bow compartment's fully flooded, but apparently the yeah, let's try switching to HE. So yeah, I guess those rear compartments weren't quite fully flooded if they were able to pump them out before. Look at the profile of this thing, by the way. It is ridiculous. It would not have been a pleasant ship to have been in any kind of slightly rough sea state at all. I mean, these things were both intended fully as coastal combatants, if not in you know, more riverine environments instead, just because they really weren't suited for ocean-going combat. But that didn't stop Clive Cussler, and this is one of those weird tidbits my brain dredged up. But there was a Clive Cussler book who writes fairly silly, dreadful yet readable adventure novels, or at least he used to. I don't know if any of his more recent ones are the same. But yeah, there was one of them which involved the Virginia ending up somehow secretly surviving a transatlantic crossing and ending up in like an Egyptian desert or something like that. It basically sailed down the Nile ways, and somehow nobody had noted this at the time, or no one had realised or observed it or anything. So yeah, the wreck eventually gets found, and it had some, I don't know, some Confederate something on board. It was a completely stupid story, but most of his stories basically are. And he had this rather silly gimmick of the kind of thing you might expect from fan fiction. He would do basically authorial self-inserts into the book, and this wasn't just a kind of Hitchcockian passing, you know, like a passenger getting on a bus or someone getting out of a taxi or something like that, and oh look, it's Alfred Hitchcock. No, this was proper Deus Ex Machina stuff that was vital to various points of the plot. And he would just show up regularly and in a very kind of meta way save the hero. It was really quite silly. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it from any other author outside of fan fiction. It wasn't even Mary Sue stuff, it was basically, right, I've written the character of, what was his name now? It was Dirk something, not Dirk Gently. What was his name? It was some rugged, manly hero type with a chin you could crack walnuts on. That kind of hero. Not particularly deep or complex as a character, but, you know, that was the level of the writing. And he'd get himself into a pickle that seemed inescapable, and then, lo and behold, the author would turn up. Heavily... not even heavily disguised, you know, it was always fairly obvious that it was the author. And somehow he never remembered that he'd met him previously, somehow, which was another one of the conceits, the sillinesses of it. So, yeah, he'd turn up and offer him... what was it? One time it was like... It was in a... was it like a mine or something? And Cussler turns up as like an engineer that sets him free from being held in captivity, and another time he rescues him from certain death in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and it's all kind of... yeah, it was extremely silly. I can't particularly recommend Clive Cussler, but if you're ever stuck at an airport, I suppose it might be worth a go. It's the kind of thing you can just switch your brain off for. I know some of his later ones, he doesn't even really write them, or maybe he co-writes them or something, but he seemed to... I don't know, franchise it to other authors. He obviously got to a point of being successful, or even not just wanting to particularly write anymore and just enjoy his money, where he basically let other people do... I really can't remember the main character's name now. I keep wanting to say Dirk Gently, but it's not Dirk Gently at all. But yeah, keep writing his adventures, and then there was a whole bunch of spin-offs set in the same kind of universe as well. So yeah, fun stuff, but really not particularly intelligent writing. Right, we've got this thing burning. It keeps flooding and then bits getting pumped out, but it's really ablaze at this point, so they're taking some serious structural damage. Which, again, is a real disadvantage in this fight, is that thing has got a whole bunch of, you know, upper hull structure to fire at, and this really doesn't. But as you can see, it can still catch on fire even so, somehow. It's just one of the mechanics of the game. It doesn't especially make sense in this context, but it's a way of doing damage, so I suppose one can't complain too much. I'm running out of things to talk about now. I honestly thought this would be a quicker fight. Well, it's not too bad. We're going on for 20 minutes at this point. I'm sure the real fight took longer. Now, of course, we have sped things up, so the real fight has taken longer. This is all at 3 times speed. As I've noted in... Well, I think I've noted in... yeah, I will have when talking about this previously, and also in Warships videos. The ships and planes and torpedoes and shells in warships all way faster than they should be. So you essentially have this effect of things being sped up to make everything fit inside a 20-minute match, rather than, say, you know, 3 hours, because not everyone has 3 hours of their life to sit down and do a naval battle in real time, which would be probably about 80%, you know, tedium waiting for things to happen, and about 10% sheer panic at things happening. Right, come on, we need some pens or slower speed back down a bit. Let's try switching to HE. I think the turret armour is the best we have. There's no way it can be penned. by these guns. I probably didn't even need that good a turret face. It was a bit overkill. Considering I can basically stop those fore and after guns ever having a chance of hitting me. I'm almost tempted just to declare this a win. Well, you know what? I'll watch it play out, and I guess we'll speed things up a bit so I'm not having to dredge my brain for topics to talk about. How about that? Well, we're actually starting to run out of time. I've got a bit more flooding, but they've managed to pump out one of the compartments, so the buoyancy's gone up a bit, and we've set some more fires, which is obviously causing structural damage. But I think we're going to run out of time, honestly. I can't reload the gun fast enough. So I think my previous attempt with a pair of smaller caliber turrets is probably the way to go. Because a single turret just it cannot get enough hits. We've almost gone there, but because they've been able to pump out all these compartments, I mean, if I hadn't, it'd be underwater already. But as it is, we've run out of time, so oh well. However, what we're going to do is try the more difficult design that I haven't yet had any luck with, and I don't quite know which bonus we want to take, to be honest. Possibly the gun one again, or possibly armor. I think armor might be better because we'll need to maneuver more. We've also got speed there as well, but yeah, it will have the advantage. We have to basically try and burn it out and survive long enough. So I'm going to try armor for this run. It might not be the correct one to pick, but we'll give it a go. And we'll set ourselves to the... I think this gives us the max number of secondary guns. So this is all round a heavier ship, 4400. Speed will make it 7 knots. Bulkheads will set to maximum. I think the engine techs will all be... Yep, so let's go... Oh, we've only got black powder available. Okay. We can still take heavy shells, though. I wonder if it's worth taking... I think we will. We'll take enhanced reload for the extra gun reload, because we're at such close range that, yeah, it's going to be a matter of just getting out as many shells as we can. So there's our fore and aft observation posts. I think we'll take maybe just one funnel, although if it gets knocked out, obviously that's going to have a severe impact on speed, but we'll do one for now and get the guns in and then see how we do. So let's go for the bigger 10-inch guns. We might not get to use them very much, but we might as well have the biggest ones we can mount. And similarly, we'll see if we can manage both weight and cost-wise. 8-inch guns, not quite all of them, so let's maybe take 4 of those and then some, say, 6-inch guns for the rest. See if that gets us within the weight. Almost. See if we can trim weight from elsewhere. Right, unsurprisingly, oh, turret armor, it does actually have an effect. I'm just wondering what counts as turret armor on this design. I have no idea. Is this all counted as turret armor, or is this deck armor? Is that purely the deck? I don't know. I just need to trim the weight down a little bit, basically. That's interesting. We're at exactly 4400, but for some reason... we're, you know, within a decimal place or something like that. Right, is there anything else we can do? We have all that unused, all those unused funds. No, increased ammo. We can't. Yeah, I don't think we really can do much else yet. I guess we're just going to have to go with single funnel, and there's nothing we can do about this being forward heavy except maybe taking out that 10-inch gun, but you know, that's one of our main guns. If you're thinking, oh well, just have all secondary guns, sadly you have to have at least one main gun. So maximum bulkhead speed 7 knots, which is not too bad. Let's go with this, see how we do. Oh, I am regardless versus 2. Oh well, this is going to go well, clearly. Right, high explosive. And let's turn around and see if we can get our main gun to bear. Which will limit what our secondary guns can do, but secondaries can fire at different targets than your main guns can. There is a way, I'm sure there's a way to set your secondaries to fire at a target that you want it to. Well, let's turn in towards that one. We're never going to turn around in time for the other one. I don't think we're going to win this somehow. I didn't realise it was always going to be 2 monitors that I'm facing. But that's going to be the strategy, is just try and burn them out. I hope I can survive long enough. So without the bigger guns or the better explosives, we're otherwise, you know, going to have a hard time getting through their armour. Look at it. It's like, I don't know. This is ridiculous. They're really not manoeuvrable ships. Actually, that one will be a better shot for the rear guns, hopefully. I don't know if ramming damage is a thing yet. We're certainly bouncing off our highly angled... What do you even call that? Superstructure? So the 10-inch gun, the rear 10-inch gun is having shots. And these are single turret designs, but they're twin turrets, so they have, just in terms of main guns, a lot more than I do, but I've got all those secondaries that can fire faster and set fires. Hopefully. Right, how about we go for the one that's right in front of us and hopefully therefore an easier shot. Right, attack that one. Gunners plus. What's an awkward looking ship? Right, there we go. Wow, this is this is very slow. Can you imagine one of the warships doing this for April Fools or something like that? Although honestly, I can more imagine it happening in War Thunder. They seem more inclined to do stuff like that. But it would be kind of fun. Right, we just need to keep this ship burning, basically. Going a whopping 1.5 knots at the moment. I can't even tell we're moving, to be honest. I think we're literally firing cannonballs. I don't know how high explosive cannonballs are a thing, but maybe they are. I mean, most of the ships of this era were firing cannonballs, which is why these were comparatively powerful. I mean, extremely limited in terms of tactical flexibility, but traditional wooden warships just couldn't pen them. Cannonballs would just bounce off. Which is why they were quite so revolutionary. Actually, if we turn away, we can get that rear 10-inch gun firing, which will have a better fire chance. We could also actually try a bit of AP. Right, so far the armour's holding up alright. It's the fires that might get us, and we do seem to have lost a secondary already. Right, was that the 10-inch gun that caused that? Yeah, that was a 10-inch. Make sure I want it, it's pointed the right way I want it to be. Gosh, that accuracy drops off fast. .500 meters and we're already down to 75%. I guess let's turn back in. Well, that's not bad going so far, but yeah. I think this strategy of burning all the things is going to be what's necessary. Are they completely stationary? It's not like I've destroyed their engines. There's no way to tell, I don't think, what speed an enemy ship is going at. You can only see their maximum possible speed. Right, this is a bit dangerous. He's going to have shots at my broadside, but I am angling a bit, so that's hopefully going to help me out. Right. Let's concentrate fire on the closer ship. Don't have a particularly high accuracy at the moment, but we can get him, that's the main thing. Get him on fire. It's such a slow, derpy battle, but it's kind of fun. It was also very unexpected when it was actually Fu was here that told me about the update, or mentioned it to me, and I realised I hadn't updated the game in a while to try it out. But yeah, when he said, "Oh yeah, I hear they've got ironclads in the game now," I was like, "Wait, what?" A bit out of the supposed time frame, but well, here they are. There is, interestingly, an actual river monitor still in service to this day with, I want to say, the Peruvian Navy, and it's one of the older serving warships in the world. It's something like over 100 years old. It's just been merrily chugging up and down the rivers of I think it's Peru. I don't think it's Brazil. I mean, Brazil obviously has the Amazon river system and other river systems that are quite extensive. Just a little bit. Oh, these ships are not really made for lots of turning around. I might have to do the same, jump things forward a bit. This is taking a really long time. In fact, I might run out of time again. I think this might be a scenario where you need both. You need two ships to combat the enemy ships if there's always going to be two ships. But, you know, win or loss, I really just wanted to show this off. Because I don't know of many, or really any other games that have allowed you to design and build your own monitor, albeit basically following an extremely limited template. You get more options with the monitor itself than this. I mean, all you get to choose with this really is the caliber of the guns. Whereas that you get single, double turrets, multiple turrets. And a choice of ballistic powder, you know what I mean. Propellant. a choice of propellant. Well, health-wise, we are really actually doing okay. Better than the one I was facing off against was in the last game. But maybe because these are using smaller guns. I don't think the 10-inch guns are going to have that much chance of penning me with AP. Yeah, I think I'm going to run out of time on this one. I'll skip ahead a bit, we'll see how it goes to. But I suspect it might be the same result. Well, the time's rapidly running out on this one as well. I think I really did need 2 ships. But also, these scenarios, given the lackluster rate of fire and the nature of the armament and how slow they are, an hour max for these battles seems honestly a little bit on the short side. Some of the scenarios give you up to 3 hours to complete them, so this, I think, if I had an extra hour of scenario time, might be doable with the current ship, no problem. But yeah, as it is, it's just not enough time. And even if I had a second ship here, I might still be cutting it a bit fine. So it wouldn't take that much longer to sink this one, the Huntington, but then we have a whole other ship to deal with, and yeah, that's just not happening. So, oh well. But win or lose, I really did just want to give a flavour of what this is like. And yeah, it's kind of a fun little addition. It's not the only one. There have been some other scenarios added. They've also added a whole bunch of new parts, including a new type of cruiser hull based on Italian cruisers. And I think there's just been a whole raft of bug fixes as well. So yeah, they're still clearly working hard away at getting the actual battle model of this game working how they want it to. I think the real test will be when it comes to the kind of rule the wave style campaign mode and you're starting to have to build ships and deal with events and manage budgets and all that kind of thing. You know, that'll be a whole different beast at that point, because this really is just either a bunch of scenarios or the sandbox mode, which was added at this stage. There isn't anything else to it other than that. But what there is still kind of fun. It's just also not particularly cheap, considering the nature of the thing. But that's how they've chosen to fund it. So, you know, like I said last time, if it looks really interesting to you, then just be aware of what you're getting and the fact that it is a really unfinished product right now. So that's it for Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. I will definitely cover this again at some point in the future. If you've enjoyed this video, you can do all the usual things down underneath it. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.